Hello, party people, and welcome to the Kraken Cast. Here on the Kraken Cast, we talk about all things streaming and MMORPGs. Today, I'm going to be joined to talk about the New World Beta by Demos Thea, Tony Axout, Pain in the Axe, and Sakar. We're going to be digging into what we liked about the beta, what we're looking forward to, some of our concerns, and just overall talking about our experiences, maybe contrasting and comparing a bit to Elder Scrolls Online, a game that we've all streamed extensively. I think it's going to be an amazing talk. I'm really excited to sit down with these amazing people here on our first episode of the Kraken Cast. We're joined today by Sakar. Sakar is a PvP expert, master of shiny blue hair, and the only person I'm tier 3 subbed to. We're joined by Demos Thea, part of the Mini Means stream team, a stream team that I am part of, prolific gamer, a lot of ESO, but has definitely branched into other MMOs such as World of Warcraft. I believe you played some Final Fantasy and obviously checked out New Worlds. We are also joined by Pain in the Axe. Pain in the Axe, in addition to doing dueling and PvP, some old school RuneScape, has recently picked up a DJ set. In addition to just blaring amazing music during streams, has started making his own music. And finally, we are joined by the #1 role player on all of Twitch, Tony Axout, who does amazing roleplay streams and other amazing content. And maybe we can feel free to jump in what you felt about the beta, how the beta treated you, what you kind of like, what was your initial feelings playing New World?
All right, I guess I'll go first. So I got a beta key like the day before it came out, and I didn't really know I was going to play it, and it just came in my inbox like, screw it, I'll give it a shot. I immediately got like wrapped in it just literally from the first cutscene. Like that cinematic they did at the beginning was like top notch. It looked great. It sounded great. The audio got me captivated. And I was like, holy shit, this feels like a movie that I'm playing right now, which is really cool. Yeah, tutorial was a bit confusing just because I didn't know how they like really work everything and how to jump around and where to go. But like once you got out of the tutorial, you kind of start doing your own path, like picking up weapons and just doing quests and experiencing the world. Like it just captivated me, man. Like there's always something to do. Like you can go around, like if you want to harvest stuff, you could just do that. If you want to go PvP, there's like open world PvP everywhere that you can flag up and choose to do. There's a lot of decent PvE. I haven't really done too much. I did like one dungeon, that was about it. But I was overall like really impressed with the beta. Like it was a lot of fun. I literally like was sitting at my computer streaming, and I'd look over like, holy crap, I've been live for 10 hours. Like I didn't even realize I was on for 10 hours. I've gone this far, and just time flew by. And I think that's like a really good thing when you're playing a new game, when you just kind of get lost into it and just trying to learn everything, and like everything you do is kind of exciting, even if it kind of like is a little bit like more low key. It's just fun because it's just like brand new world. Like the combat was interesting, and it was just more skill based, and that's what I really appreciated about New World. I mean, we'll get into like some of the bugs and problems later, but like from my first experience, I gave it like a 9 out of 10. It was really good. Like I enjoyed it.
It really was like baby's first MMO all over again. I don't know if it's because of the hype surrounding it or just because it was something a little old, but also done in a new way. I kind of felt the same way. It was like jumping into Ultima Online, which is my first MMO, or WoW all over again. It was just, it felt really fresh, and it really excited me too.
It was very addicting, like, and so satisfying. Everything about it, like something Payne just touched on, but it didn't feel like you're walking across a terrain and then, oh, there's like a resource node over there, and you go and you mine it or whatever. It's like everything in the world you could grab, you could harvest, you could craft. Like I found the crafting, even though that's not what I thought I would enjoy about it, but I found the crafting very like satisfying, and like the sound effects and the sound design was like, it just felt good chopping a tree. And I didn't expect that from this, knowing that it was a MMORPG that was designed from the get-go with PvP in mind. I didn't expect like the other elements to sort of shine at all, and I was surprised by that.
I thought the graphics were gorgeous too. Like just walking along, like when the sunset was happening or something, I felt like I was actually outside, for the first time ever. It was amazing. So just having that was just absolutely gorgeous to me. I
mean, you should go outside for sure. Like that.
Oxygen?
That's probably a wise thing to do. Every now and then, like the vitamin D you get is essential for your body. But the New World Sunshine almost does the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think what really impressed me the most was that it was a beta and everything was working mostly as intended. Like obviously there was its issues and its hiccups and stuff. Like when you went to war in like a 50v50, obviously there was issues there. But for the most part, whenever I went out into open world, I didn't experience any troubles really. Like a few here and there, but having a game that works that well in the beta stages is just, I think it's something to be excited about. I think it's something really.
I mostly just second what Tony said about the environments and such like that. That was the biggest thing that drew me in. I didn't even know that I was going to play New World. Actually, Locke kindly gave me a beta key. And honestly, I didn't really have much of an expectation for it going in just because I hadn't really looked into it. It wasn't something that was on my radar particularly. And so when I went into it, I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't seen any reviews, any previous like videos from the other betas that happened, anything like that. And I have to say, like, I can agree with what Sakar says about how streamlined the game felt. I definitely appreciated that about it in particular. I obviously come from more of a PvE standpoint than the majority of the people here, but I would say that there definitely was a lot more to it than I expected as well, even at the kind of stages that it was at. And so, yeah, I had a really good experience overall.
Yeah, like I agree. Like even I'm a guy who really loves like end game PvP. Obviously, very few of us got to the end game in the beta because it's just not really realistic. But I even had a great time doing the PvE. Like I had fun. Like it was awesome. Like I was actually like engaged in just doing things like Tony said, like that sounds of like chopping a tree or like mining a rock or just like getting stuff to make better potions. It was like fun because all that in the end actually does supplement and help you PvP later, because even the basic resources help you either level up or like get better gear to like go do PvP. And I do agree with Scar. Like the wars did get a little laggy with 50v50, and I hope that kind of goes away once the game comes out and they do better performance a little bit. But even like that kind of lag, I was still able to play in it. You know, it wasn't unplayable. Like when everyone stacked 1 point in the war, yeah, it was a little hard to do anything. But like after that initial push, when things kind of spread out a bit, like you were able to go like deep in the enemy lines, like with your double axe, like two-hander guys, and just like decimate people with like coordination. Like it felt like actually like leading a raid in a PvP environment, and you knew your stuff was going to work, and it was just a lot of fun. It's like causing havoc in wars and just having objective-based PvP as well.
Yeah, and I think, So yeah, I think we talk about the elephant in the room real quick, which is I think the big naysays about the game is queue time, server stability, and lag in bigger environments. That said, the elephant in the room is they did push it an additional month before the game's coming out, because I think the big reason for this beta test and the reason it's so streamlined is they did so much beta testing before this, so much alpha testing, that this was all about seeing how big they could overload their servers. Like anybody on the content creator team was given like 5 keys to pass out, and they gave a bunch of free keys out. So it really allowed them to stress the servers, which I think is a good thing, because the things that people are talking about are the things that they've listened to and are fixing. But I think that's the big hiccup everyone had, was the server stability and how it handled like 50v50 stuff.
Yeah, other than the 50v50, like open world felt fine. Like I never really had a moment where like there was connection issues, other than when like the server was just overloaded with people logging in on the first day. But like once that passed, it was cool. Like there wasn't any long queues really. I never really felt any lag out in open world PvP. And if they're taking the extra time to like make that better, just for wars or any other kind of bugs that I wasn't aware of, like taking an extra month and a half to get it done right, then I'm all for it. Like the jealous part of me wants it now, just because I had so much fun. But I think they made the right move by like kind of pulling it off.
Yeah, I don't want them to rush that at all. Like I was totally not upset by the news of them pushing it. I mean, we're still like, it wasn't even a year ago when like Cyberpunk did its thing, and I just don't want another one of those where I can be patient. I'm not like dying to play, and I want them to do it right. And I know how vitally important it is for them to have that good first impression. So if they push the worst case scenario is they push it and then none of the problems are fixed, and then no one will want to play it. But I would rather them take the time, get these things right, and then bring that finished product to us. I may be in a rare camp, I'm not sure, but
no,
that's
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, I think most people agree with that too. Like from what I've seen online on like their Twitter and everything, like yeah, there's a couple people just saying like, "Oh, fuck you, devs! I wanted to play it," but like realistically, like if a game launches in a really bad state, like that's permanent damage. You know, there's no coming back from that for the most part.
Yeah.
Like there's very few games that can do that. Like No Man's Sky did it. They had a really terrible like launch. But it took them like 3 years to like kind of recover their reputation to make it say, okay, this game is like actually like playable and more fun now, you know? So if a game releases like shit, then it's not going to be good for the overall health of the game. So it's good that.
I mean, really, the only complaint that people have is like that I've seen at least is just like the wars with like the 50-50, and that's going to be something difficult, but I think it's definitely manageable because. I'm not trying to mention any games, but I know a game that's been out for about 7 years now that can't handle a 10-10 situation.
You mean Elder Scrolls Online? No way, bro.
Oh, wow, that's crazy that you said that. I didn't say that.
I haven't heard of that game. What is it? I mean, I don't know.
Crazy.
I mean, since we're broaching it right now, let's just kind of get into that. Because it's true of Elder Scrolls Online. They released like Cyrodiil 2015, and then they released like Imperial City, and then PvP has kind of been truthfully an afterthought. World of Warcraft over time drifted towards arena play. Final Fantasy's PvP is all battleground and arena play. A lot of MMOs drift towards the point where they kind of backburner the concept of PvP, and it has a diehard fan base who feels kind of neglected and ignored. Like, we can talk about the goods and bads with games. I love Elder Scrolls Online. We've all streamed hundreds and hundreds of hours of the game, but it is nice to talk about a game that has it at the forefront. I know Ashes Accretion's going to, but that's still years away. So New World coming out now with that focus on PvP, where it's such an integral part of the world, I think does help, from seeing, talking to Sakar, seeing what people have posted, make that PvP, especially that PvP base in Final Fantasy, in Elder Scrolls Online, in WoW, actually feel heard and seen, and feel like maybe here's a developer who's going to evolve PvP as the years go on instead of backseating it.
I agree. Like most MMOs, they do kind of shift away from PvP, but like most MMOs don't also never add any content to PvP. They still add things every now and then. Even old school RuneScape added content to PvP. It didn't work very well, but they gave it a shot, and they're still reworking like places like the Wilderness and old school RuneScape, and that's a pure PvP open world zone. But yeah, we haven't had anything in Elder Scrolls Online in 2.5 years for PvP. Nothing major, at least. Like we got like emotes for. See, that's what I'm talking about.
That kills the server.
That's what I'm talking about. That's 2.5 years ago when Golden Run came out, right? So
that kills the server.
That's the last point we've had like a real PvP update. I mean, even if you don't like Golden Run or not, I mean, I personally don't like it either because it's just kind of like a bit broken. But they also promised that new like artifact weapons too, which never happened as well. It's like we haven't gone anything like of substance in 2.5 years when we easily could. New World, I don't think it's going to be a game that does that because they've been listening to a lot of feedback and whatnot. And even like the PvE stuff they've been adding to Elder Scrolls Online. I'm going to switch sides here. Like it doesn't feel engaging to me. You get 2 new dungeons and that's it, and they're just like re-rinse mechanics for the most times, and they're not that difficult. They don't have a real individual challenge to them.
It does feel like a little bit of a rinse repeat, a new skin on an old idea. Excuse me, and I don't know, like sometimes it happens, like we're kind of touching on a subject. I don't want to blow it even bigger, but it's like, is the group of people that enjoy MMOs and then want to like test their skills against other people in PvP, is that like a smaller group of humans than we think it is? Because every company ends up going or every game I feel like ends up going that direction, which like that's why I'm excited about New World, because from the get-go it's like we're designing this for PvP and it's an MMO. At least it's the first game that I know that's done something like that. And I don't know, maybe the dollars aren't they, I don't know, but I ask myself that sometimes.
I don't think the money is there sometimes because it's easier to profit off of like customizable like skins and stuff like than it is like put a like actual real content into the game. That's what I've noticed in a lot of games these days. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, and going outside the MMO sphere, if Fortnite and Apex and Destiny in these games that are combat PvP oriented shooters teach us anything, is that PvPers care as much about looking gorgeous, slaying it on the runway while slaying it on the battlefield as anyone else. So I don't think it's as much. I don't think it's really as much about the money. Being somebody who used to work with tech companies, though not game companies, I've had a lot of interactions with them in the field. I feel it's more about IP. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls Online, they all three have one thing in common, and that is they are intellectual properties. They're built around lores, they're built around stories, and a lot of people drawn to those are drawn to the stories. I was drawn to Elder Scrolls Online for those stories, and I think when you get a game like New World, or even a game that's only an alpha like Ashes of Creation, that are building their own worlds and their own lore, they are more free, and the people who come to that game are going to come more just open to see what this world is than these expectations of these stories, because we've played decades of Final Fantasy games, and we played decades of Elder Scrolls games and decades of Warcraft games. So a lot of these people are like, oh, I want to live in these worlds. Whereas New World, it's like, it is a new world. And I think that might have a kind of a bigger factor on what draws people to be more drawn to the PvE content. It might also be a monetization thing. A lot of things obviously are, but I think a lot of it is that lore, like really driving lore in those games becomes forefront, whereas New World and Ashes have the freedom of, it's their lore, it's their world.
I agree with you. Do you think that that's something, because when I started playing New World, knowing that it was PvP was sort of like the whole point of it, I was, like I said, I was surprised by the harvest, by the crafting, and I was surprised by the graphics. I was surprised by the sound design, that I actually found myself being like, well, where is and it's a beta, but I was like, where is the story? Like, if you guys did so well with all these other elements, I kind of now want a story. I want like a cinematic of like, when you played World of Warcraft and the opening cinematic was like an army of orcs and humans like rushing at each other, and like that feeling that you were in that world. Like I want New World to now even do more than it's promised to do, I guess. I want that feeling again. I want that hit. Give me that
like
hit.
Not to go obviously too much into the negatives or maybe future topics, but I think that was one thing that I definitely noticed going in with my total lack of kind of preconceived ideas of what the game would even be, is just how there didn't seem to be that structure to the quests of what you would usually find in an MMO. It was a lot of collect quests and a lot of just kind of, you're just doing this to level and get XP. It doesn't feel like you're kind of going for some sort of cause or trying to achieve something, and I know that that's probably more to do with the fact that you're kind of achieving something through capturing territories and things like that, but I definitely think that's something that I would have appreciated from like my perspective going to the game. It's just more of a kind of story, and even if it wasn't a story, just more kind of reason behind why I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, I wish I knew it was. I didn't really. Part of it is my fault mainly. Like I had no idea what's going on in the New World story, other than like this corruption.
I don't know either.
I'm down to read it. Isn't there like voice audio? Like there's vocals for it, right?
No,
like, I did side quests and stuff. It was just the main quest.
Well, what they did is they would do a thing where most of the NPCs had voices, and they would just skip your name. But the lore books, I mean, I read a couple of them.
There wasn't much.
Yeah.
And but I did like they were trying something with like each region had like one total book, and you would collect pages out of order of those books. I thought that was kind of cool because that incentivized me to collect all the pages if I wanted to read that entire book. I liked that concept. But again, I think it just goes back to I might have cared more about what was in those actual lore books if I kind of understood the story at large. I mean, you talked about that opening tutorial where like you fight the captain and he attacks you, and then like you learn the combat real fast. But then that was kind of and I didn't finish the main quest, so I may be speaking out of ignorance here, but that was kind of like the biggest like story moment I had.
Well, I think it was developing that there's like that corruption, that red crap that was everywhere. Like the corruption's taken over the area, so like that's what you're fighting against. Just like it's pretty much like similar to like an Oblivion invasion, except with a bunch of like corruption or some crap.
Yeah, I'm just a simple man. I just run out and just PvP and just fight.
I mean, honestly, yeah, it was a beta for me. I was like, I want to get to like a good point where I can kill people. So I was like the best spammer in the whole game. Like I spammed.
Can someone just clip Loctavian saying, "I'm a simple man"? Just I need that in and out.
That was
point.
me.
That
That was
right
me.
there. I need to use that for later.
That was me.
So one of the things though that is really interesting to bring up from kind of back on that lore standpoint is, as somebody who started MMOs really young and with like these precursor MMOs almost like Ultima Online, it felt a lot like the stories and the lore of the game is the lore and the stories you're making with other people. And I know that's true of any game, but it did feel really lore light. I made it a point when leveling off stream to kind of only do the main story just because I wanted to see if the story kind of ramped up. And really, like Tony said, you get the overview of the zone from reading the chapters and some quests, but it doesn't have like this big sweeping like story. The story really is about the factions and what you're doing. So for people who really kind of crave lore, that is something that might come with time and can hopefully, because if they listen to the community, come with time. Because yeah, that is definitely something that is kind of lacking. I agree with Deimos the other day. It's kind of lacking in this iteration of the game. Before we kind of keep going in that direction, something in chat that was mentioned that I think is a really good point, and I think that's where I want to go next, is there actually have been a ton of MMOs developed that were PvP oriented, and due to various things from griefing or not well maintained worlds or things like that, they get to the point where they just kind of fail because the PvEers leave or the not as skilled PvPers leave, and those games kind of end up dying off. So people who are doing PvP in New World, how does it feel right now? How does it feel in terms of balance? Do you feel like there's a lot of room for griefing to the point that it drives kind of the population down? Because I think that's another factor with PvP that needs to be explored is, like was mentioned in chat, those PvP focused MMOs of the past ended up having short lives because of things like that.
Absolutely not, because if you might, I'll let you go Scar in a second here. But like as like you have a choice to flag up in this game, and say you're trying to help your faction take a town, right? You have 6 quests you can do. 3 of them are PvE and 3 of them are PvP. If you're flagged for PvP, you can do all 6. If you're not, you can do the 3 PvE ones, and you can still turn those in and help your faction get credits for getting influence over that area to help start an assault. And only really win the wars where it comes to like, that's where you have to PvP, like to participate to help, to actually take the town. But like that's how it should be. Like there's defense and offense. You know, it's going to be a big fight. So you have a choice. So go ahead, Scar.
It kind of gets to the point where you just feel inferior as a PvEer since you can only do 3 of the 6 quests at a time. So I do empathize with them at that point, because also basically every town that you went to, there's at least like 3 people at every entrance and exit. They're just like waiting for people to run out, and it's like they're not even good players. They just run back inside the second they take damage. But like if you don't know what you're doing, if you just want to go out and quest, they're probably going to kill you. But like if you do want to fight them, they're just going to run away, and they're only there to grief. So I understand that.
Yeah, town camping is annoying, but like if you're trying to actually do the faction quests, you got 30 seconds to gun it from the town to like out in the open. Where I feel like I've been able to get from the gate, bypass all of the shenanigans going outside the gate and like out into like the fields where like they're no longer following me, because they don't actually know that you're flagged for PvP until that 30 seconds is up, is when your name turns like a little bit red, that diamond on there. So you have time to get out if they're actually like, you know, huffing it and like maybe using a couple of gap closers or just like rolling or doing like berserk or whatever, you know, you can get out, you can do it.
To that point, though, I would like to see like maybe a situation where like if you're close to a town, the PvP that's enabled is only like 1v1 instead of getting ganked by a bunch of people, or some sort of system. Maybe it's just like one region where it's like honorable dueling or whatever you want to call it. Because if it released as it is, what I would do, honestly, because I don't care. I have no shame. I don't care if people think I'm a bad player. I would just get as many of my friends as possible, and then that would be my PvPing, because I hate getting ganged up, so I just do it to other people. It's a vicious cycle. Let's move. That's for my therapist. That's not for this podcast. But like that's what it would reward, unless there was some sort of system. I mean, like even watching like Pain just getting jumped over and over. There was one time when I was like reaching out to Pain. I was like, Pain, I need you to come help me do this PvP quest because Day and I, my fiance, keep going out and we're just getting just bent over by 5 people who are just beating us up and we can't do any of the PvP quests. So I don't know. I'd like to see some sort of system where that wasn't so rewarded, but if it is, great. I know what it is. I'm just going to round up everyone I can and
there's a solution.
And Zerg.
I mean, it's a fine line because like if you're doing PvP quests, like you're taking influence away from the controlling faction. And so that like, you can take the town. Like if enough people do it, they can now declare war on the town. So there needs to be kind of that group on group conflict, but I do agree there should be areas, maybe not in those like quest areas, because like they need to help defend their turf. Like there's this thing in old school RuneScape in the Revenant Caves. It's a big PvP hotspot with PvE elements where they drop like a lot of good loot, like you can get and sell. But it's a singles plus zone, so you can only be attacked by one player. But say you're fighting like an NPC or whatever, like a player can pull you out of combat with that monster, and now you're in PvP with that player. So like the player has priority over the monster. So it becomes that 1v1. Like they call it a singles plus zone.
So there are local signals in my area.
Not for you, Sakar. You need to like dye your hair like purple more or some shit.
Get this man a date, please.
Yeah, Jesus, bro.
Someone was asking in the comments. So I mean,
so before we dive a little bit too much,
ESO, by the way. Before
we dive a little bit more into PvP, I want to talk about my weird journey through the game, but I do want to get more of Deimos Thea's take as more primarily a PvE, how were your experiences? Because we've heard a lot from like, Tony about Zerg cycles and from Pain and Sakar about like the big PvP elements. But as somebody who does a lot more PvE, how did you find the experience, or how was your journey in New World?
I mean, I have to say, and I don't know if what I'm about to say is going to make me sound kind of dumb, but I found a lot of parts of the game, like questing, even just in the game, a little bit confusing, combined with obviously the lack of a mini map, the lack of kind of knowledge of kind of what your objective was that I mentioned before. It kind of just made it a little bit difficult to navigate around the world. Navigating itself was really, really enjoyable. Like the environments were just so beautiful. I'm a real sucker for sun flares, and there's plenty of those. So from that perspective, I really, really enjoyed just being in the world. But then from like a very more PvE oriented perspective, I did find the combat a little bit difficult to get to grips with. And that's something that I would really love to hear about from you guys as well, just because I found that style of combat very slow. And I know people have mentioned it, friends of mine that have tried the game. So from my perspective, it was very slow, but I didn't get to do a huge amount of PvP, mostly because I'm not as PvP kind of driven and I'm not as comfortable with it. But I definitely agree with what Tony said about like the crafting and the gathering. All of those things are, as nerdy as it is, those are like things I really enjoy doing. It's very relaxing, and I think New World does do that very well. It creates a world that you do actually genuinely want to explore in, which is, in my opinion, really important in an MMO. And that's one of the biggest driving forces for me, and actually the reason that I even bothered continuing my playthrough, because for me, PvP is fun, but definitely not my main kind of goal with a MMO. So I think there's definitely huge draws to the game as a PvE player, but I do think there are a huge amount of kind of downfalls as well. I don't really think that PvE players would feel inferior, but I think they may feel like there would be an eventual content drought. I don't know what they're planning, but maybe they might feel that there's not enough for them to do further down the line if the PvP focus continues. But that isn't to say that, of course, there isn't going to be developments in PvE either, which I would really look forward to seeing for sure. So
to kind of answer that, and I'm going to tell you my weird journey, because I feel like I took a really different journey into New World than most people. Expeditions, which equivalent of basically dungeons, are a lot of fun. They're very well designed, especially for a year one MMO. And that's something I do want to put out there is, when we look at Elder Scrolls Online, good and bad. When we look at Final Fantasy, good and bad. When we look at a lot of these MMOs, good and bad, they've had their growing phases, whether it be ESO before 1 Tamriel or Final Fantasy before Realm Reborn, where they basically had relaunches of their own games to get them to where they are. So I try to kind of put that in perspective, but I think they've done a lot of really good work with expeditions. I don't know what that looks like at in-game because I didn't get to in-game, and that's why I just want to tell my tale, because there's PvEing, there's quests that can be a bit confusing. There's all these different things with PvP. You look at the world map and you see rocks. If there's a rock, you can mine it. There's a tree, you can chop it. There's a plant, you can pick it. If you're not high enough level, you have to just literally do that over and over until you can do that. So I chopped more trees, and then I could chop maple trees. And then there was no more trees for me to chop in my zone. And so I took the story quest. I didn't care about leveling the zone. I went to the next zone. Eventually I got to the blue trees, and I just was clear cutting these blue trees and picking these plants. I was not PvP.
Not that far in the wood cutting? Damn.
Oh no, I'm putting together a video on it. I maxed out. Of all the things I maxed out harvesting lumber and carpentry.
You're a madman.
And I did almost that far on alchemy, and I just gathered, and I moved to the next zone, and I fight the enemies around. I do PvE stuff, and I gather more. I would not PvP flag. I did PvP flag once in a while. I love doing heal staff shield because if you're running with a group of people and you come across a bigger group of people when you have one healer with you, it changes the scope of everything. And as a healer, I love the fact that I can just keep myself defended and drop heals and make a big difference in fights. But when I wasn't PvPing, which was most of the time, I was cutting trees. Here's the cool thing about this. If you love crafting and you love gathering, I gathered so many plants and made so many potions, crafted so many things for people who are actually making enough money to get houses. I don't know when the main game comes out if I'll make this sort of money, but I was just selling things. And if I wanted to help the war effort instead of PvPing, I'm just like, here are potions, here are things. And I was just producing for the war effort. And that's why it was kind of weird, but it actually was really cool because I was helping out my faction simply by producing goods, not just to level up the zone, but literally just supplying people with stuff they needed. And I thought it was very cool because while you can craft in other MMOs, this was the first time. And again, it could be because it's brand new. Once everybody's max level, you might not need people like that. But at least in the beta, I was just that person aiding the war effort. So I want to tell my weird story because I feel like it was a completely different experience since I was just in deep, mysterious zones chopping blue trees by the end of it all.
Honestly, man, go ahead, Scar. I've talked too much.
What I'm assuming is going to happen is if you keep on chopping that many trees, you're going to get some kind of boss fight, and the Lorax is going to come out and fight you at some point because, like, he's going to be coming for you at this point.
Okay, let me never cut me off from Sakar again. Anyways,
that was a good one.
You did it yourself. You cut yourself off.
Don't do that anymore. Like, that was stupid. Anyways, Outpost Rush is a max level battleground, and they actually have advertised that, yeah, like frontline fighters are going to be valuable, but like crafters and gatherers are just going to be as valuable because those are the people who are going to be like upgrading the fort that you're defending or like making new like weaponry like for like siege weapons, and they're going to upgrade the tiers. So there's actually going to be a benefit for people who don't necessarily like getting into the grit of battle, but people who go out, harvest in that zone, and upgrade all the materials and everything so the defense is stronger. So like that's going to have like extreme value.
This is something I never considered, and it's like the Rosie the Riveters of World War II, like staying home, going to work in the factory. Like that should be. I wish that I hope that that's something that's more defined. It's like, oh, you know what, PvP isn't really for me, but I want to contribute to this overall war. There's other ways I can contribute, and here's how I contribute. That I don't know why it's like dawning upon me, but that's a really cool thing that I didn't even think about or discover at all during the beta.
I've never seen an MMO do that, like for PvP. You know, it's just be like, okay, you're either fighting or you're a bow tart on a keep that does nothing. You know, like that's usually the PvP experience in MMOs.
And
but
Sakar is right there. Do not talk about him like that.
Wait, who?
And it might sound like there's nothing social about gathering stuff, but it's not true because while I could have done all the harvesting, there's so much to harvest. My buddy broke rocks. I chopped trees. My buddy would grab like reeds and stuff. I would grab like alchemy plants, and then when we just wanted to chat or hang out and we saw other people doing it, we'd just sit down by the river and we'd fish The fishing mini game's actually really fun because it's one of those ones where you reel it in and don't reel it in. It gets actually so like there's tension on the line, so and it gives you the weight and size of your fish. So we're just having impromptu like fish offs to see who can catch the biggest fish, telling stories. Then we're back out there breaking rocks, chopping trees. And again, I don't know. I hope that it sounds like it's supposed to hold up once the game is in retail. But to me, I did so many hours chopping trees while my friend broke rocks, and then we did some fishing.
That's what the game's about.
It felt good. I just enjoyed a good tree chop. Excuse me. I just enjoyed like going out there and just feeling like a lumberjack.
Lumberjack character confirmed. Tony stream RP.
Here we go.
The
greatest wood collector on all of Twitch.
Oh no!
I enjoyed like gathering all the resources, but like skinning the animals, man, I couldn't do it with the gruesome sound effects. It just made me so upset. I hated it so much.
Skinning was my highest skill.
Of course it was.
Fucking everything. Fuck you.
My wolf.
Die.
There was so much like unnecessary competition over like dead animals on the floor.
I would get pissed. Like I kill a wolf and I'm running up to it, and this fucker comes up and skins it. I'm like on the voice comms too. Can we talk about voice comms?
Yeah, let's get into that.
I couldn't connect to them for some reason.
Let's talk about it because I had to turn mine off almost immediately, and I want to know what everyone else's experience was.
Mine was on 24/7. I loved it. Like I'd be killing people, they'd be calling me a bitch and everything. It was hilarious, and like I'd just be talking shit. I kept it on. I had so much fun with it.
I turned on voice comms for the first 3 minutes. I'm like, we're into the beta of New World. I want to check this out. Thank you, everybody. I know we've been doing a lot of ESO, but thank you for being here with me while we check this out. Here we are in New World. Gamer word, homophobe word. Voice comms off.
Honestly, I didn't get anything like that toxic. Like I just got some guy calling me like a pussy or something.
I think it was just an initial grouping with everybody there around the initial turn, and people decided that was I think they were doing it because they saw Twitch tags on people, and I think because this happens in Sea of Thieves also. If you see and you know someone's streaming, sometimes you try to get them in trouble by screaming words that go through to their stream.
That must be a real, I mean, because of the integration with Twitch, I can see that being an issue. I don't know how much of an issue it actually was in the beta because I didn't use voice comms once. I tried to connect, it didn't work. But also the global chat itself, I did use. I was talking to people on there. There was quite a lot of toxicity on there. So I can imagine the voice chat was similar. Was the voice chat better than the global chat?
Yeah, actually it was, honestly, in my experience. Like nobody said anything too crazy to me. But as negative it could be, like when I'm fighting someone and kill them, they're just salty. I also had really wholesome experiences with the voice chat. Like when I was doing the dungeon for the first time, like everybody had a mic and we're all talking and we're all just gaming and like they're teaching stuff. And I'd be running around, like I'll see like a lower guy trying to do a quest and he needs help and he's like, "Hey dude, can you come help me?" And he's like, "Yeah dude," just it was actually really wholesome. Like it felt like I was playing an MMO. I had the MMO experience. It's like, you know, like not everybody's just dungeon queuing and you get thrown in with like 5 randoms or whatever. They don't say a word to you the whole dungeon. You know, you just do your thing and then you leave the group. Like that's how I kind of don't like about ESO, the whole dungeon queue finder thing. Like nobody talks to each other. Like
I feel like people are way too nice. I feel like people are way too nice on PC. Everybody's like, "Hi guys, how's everybody's day?" I'm just like, "Don't talk to me. Let me finish this dungeon and get out of here."
It's the two type of people, like people who want that multiplayer MMO collaborative experience, and people who are like, "Don't fucking talk to me." Like, I'm not going to talk.
So
I'm a people person. I like people. You know?
To comment about people saying the things that I heard initially around in group chat, again, people trying to get streamers in trouble. I think it'll be better on launch because I was good in beta. They were very quickly responsive. If you could identify people who were using, like if you're saying like "fuck," you know, that's fine. You're like "fuck yourself." Nobody would care about that.
Words.
But if you say like the gamer words, if you say some bigoted words, and you would let someone know, it was very promptly dealt with. So I think it won't be much of a problem if they stay as involved with checking into concerns like that and just like getting rid of people who are using like homophobic or other like bigoted terms.
I mean, people want to risk that too. Like, I don't know why people were even doing it, because when they got banned in the beta, it's like, well, $40, bye. You know, every time they do it, it's just $40, goodbye. You know, it's like Elder Scrolls Online if you get banned from Elder Scrolls Online, like you can get the base game for like $15. You know what I mean? Or something. So there's more like they're gonna run out of money unless they're like super rich or something. That's how I saw it. It's like, is it really worth you like wasting all this progress you're making on your account, especially how long it kind of takes New World just to say something stupid like that?
Progress.
Maybe they don't, but the really fucking like the moronic people probably don't. But like the average person, if you're like have a brain and not like some papega, like it'd probably give a crap about that. I would give a crap about that.
They also probably don't have brains, though. That's why.
That's the thing.
Here's the thing.
I agree.
Here's the positive thing to really say about voice comms, and then because I did use voice comms when I wasn't streaming it, I played a lot of this off stream and recorded videos and stuff. Doing the expeditions, which again are like the dungeons in this game, and first time going in, and people are like, "Has anyone done this?" And one person just chimed in and goes, "Yeah, I've done this before." Okay, I'll be our guide, and it was. In ESO, people are like that and they can type it out, but it was very nice just having somebody be like, okay, this is what you're going to want to know. Oh, this is what's coming up. And just having that conversation as you're like doing little things, oh, this is what's up around the bend, and kind of could get ready for it. And it was really nice, even with people who are complete strangers in a lot of ways, to be able to quickly communicate, ask questions of each other, and have people who had the knowledge like share it. Or if none of us knew what was going on, be able to just like talk through it, because there's a lot you can do in typing, but it's so much quicker to be like, okay, what killed us there, or oh, what happened there? And it actually, I don't know how that translates to like PvP or other content, but with the PvE expeditions, it was such a refreshing experience to just be able to talk about a failed experience or have somebody give you pointers and tell you what to do before you got to something.
Yeah, I mean, the PvP definitely was a bit more toxic for voice comms, but even the PvE was pretty good. It was pretty wholesome, but there was even times in PvP where like I'd kill someone or they kill me, and they're like, "Oh crap, what did you do there?" Like, man, like they actually wanted to learn how to do it, and I actually like got into a conversation with a guy. Like it was like 20 minutes. So I was just teaching him like really how to use his hatchet a little bit better and like how to combo better, because like he saw me melt him in like 4 to 5 seconds ish, and he was like, "Oh, how did you get all those buffs up? How do you do so much damage?" I just told him all the passives and like how to run it, and I was like letting him practice it on me and whatnot. We were all doing voice comms, and it was fine. It was no toxicity, but. I mean, there's bad gamers, there's good gamers, and I like the voice comms. Honestly, I think it's good. I wish more games would do it, and obviously don't force it on anybody because not everybody wants to talk, and I get that. We got some Sakars out there in the world, so yeah.
What? You guys must have had better I'm willing to admit I'm a curmudgeon and I don't want to meet new friends, but I do want to talk to my friends already. So like for voice comms, like yeah, absolutely throw anyone I know in there so that we can chat about whatever this next boss is, or if we're PvP rating. But I don't know. I don't care to talk to strangers who just ran up on me in the wilderness, and maybe that's a personal thing.
Yeah, it's to each their own. That's how it is.
I agree with Day about them not having any brains. Like he's I look, I just assume the internet is a terrible place, and I'm not going to be making any friendships, that many friendships over a beta or over an MMORPG with an open voice chat. Again, I know I'm a curmudgeon, so I'm willing to admit that.
What the hell is curmudgeon?
You know what curmudgeon?
I've never heard that.
It's got more than 2
Such a troglodyte.
Please.
A what? A chocolate? Is that a crocodile like chocolate or something? Like what?
Troglodyte.
Now we're at the section of Kraken Cast where Tony teaches Payne new words. The word of the day is curmudgeon.
Keep it like 4 words or like 4 letters or more. Shit.
It's just
if
like
anything past 2 syllables, right over Payne's head.
Mm-hmm.
Aw.
I'm a grumpy old man. I'm willing to admit that I don't want to get to know complete strangers, but I also had a really negative time on the voice chat. Like Loctavian said, I mean, it was like almost immediate. First town I was in, it was just like a kid running by, just like spewing nonsense, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've had enough.
I just kid watching gangster rap while we were PvPing.
Yeah, that's like that is the situation that would annoy me the most. Like I used to play Overwatch competitively, like constantly. That was like comp Overwatch was all I really did, which is and as soon as there's a kid in VC, it's just like I need to leave. Like I can't do it.
Did any of you guys see the XQC stream where he had his voice chat on and had like 40 people following him, just like yelling? It was so fucking funny, honestly.
That's a really good segue, because we mentioned it a few times. We mentioned things like voice comms. Amazon owns and is developing New World. Amazon owns and obviously continues to develop Twitch. So something that New World has, it's rudimentary, but it's an introductory thing, is you can link up your Twitch. You can set it so people can see when you're live if you want to. You can hide that so people don't see when you're live. You can hide it so you don't see when other people are Twitch streaming if you don't want to see that. And that's kind of an interesting feature where you can just be out there and let people know that you're live. But I think the coolest feature, and the one I hope gets developed further when it was working, is you can set it for either subscribers or followers and subscribers. I can just turn that on. I can even turn it on when I'm not streaming, because it's linked to my Twitch, so it knows who is a follower and a subscriber, and just basically send it out there. And if they're in the same faction as me and they're on my same server, they can be like, oh, Octavian's looking for a group, and just like join really quick. And I think when you look at streams where people want to play with their viewers, that's a thing a lot of people do enjoy doing. Being able to turn that on and just let people in your community, if they're in the same server and the same faction, join up with you with simple clicks. I think that is a neat feature. Obviously, again, that and the one showing when you're live or seeing when other people are live is rudimentary, but that initial just built-in Twitch connection, especially in this day and age where we've seen the power of what streamers, small streamers, moderate sized streamers, especially the power of like an Asmongold, like a huge streamer can do just by being part of a game category, especially an MMO category. So I think that's really cool, and I don't know how it will develop, but I was curious what you felt about the Twitch features.
I couldn't get mine to work. Like it wouldn't work.
I didn't get mine to work.
Like did it work for you? Because I was trying like several days to get it to work, but I just thought it was a beta thing. Like, okay, it's a little bit busted. Maybe it'll get fixed.
I never saw a single person have that over their head, and it never worked for me.
Mine was fine.
Lucky.
All these EU people. Oh.
I didn't try.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's an EU thing.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, that's a really cool concept. And then I didn't try it.
Mine worked from day one. Like I had no issues with it.
I was on an East Coast US server and mine worked fine, but I wasn't on the same one that Sakar or Payne was on. So it worked for me. It worked for me, and again, it was really neat because since it was integrated with my Twitch, if I still turned on the thing where followers and subscribers could find me, if the ones who were on there, either other streamers who were playing or just people in part of the community who joined up on the same server, would see me on and they'd click a button, and the next thing I know, I'd be in a group with them. I'd be like, oh, that's a really nice feature, especially even when you're doing offline play, to still be able to just group up very quickly with people from your community. I love that. I don't know how much I care about people being able to know that I was streaming live or being able to see if other people are streaming. I kind of like seeing if other people are streaming because it might introduce me to other people I could go say hi to, because I'm big on meeting new people in communities. I'm not a curmudgeon like Tony.
You're not. You're a sweet person, and that's why I like you, but we need more of you and less of me.
And Tony's the armpit stain of the internet.
Kid, and I'm willing to admit that. Yeah. Also, never mind. Are we confirmed that when the game comes out, you can't jump servers? Is that a 100% confirmation?
So,
I don't know.
The way it works is there's groupings of either 4 to 5 servers that are on the same grouping of servers. So I could have multiple characters on different groupings, but like I was on like XTA, so I couldn't join on any other XTA. The reason for that is the way the servers work is there's either 4 or 5 servers, and if one's low pop, it temporarily merges with another medium or low pop so that the world never feels empty, and then they can expand back out to 5. So that's why you can't join in groupings. But I could have like Thule is in a different cluster, even though it's an East Coast server, than my cluster. My cluster for Xanadu was a different cluster, so I could technically have a character on Thule and on Xanadu. You just have to look at the second thing there, which is the cluster. And again, the reason for that is because if there's like, and that's kind of really cool, I think, from a PvP and a PvE standpoint, is like if it's late at night and like you have all the servers in the cluster are low population, they'll temporarily combine just so you can still have that full experience. And if they're really full, then they won't. So that's why you can do that. But you can have different characters. It's just so you don't have two characters in different factions in the same cluster.
That's really smart, honestly. I like that.
It's great. It's a great idea. Great concept. You know, it'd be great if other games incorporated it.
Chat mentioned it, but Final Fantasy actually does that.
Okay. When are we deciding what server we're grabbing? I want to jump on the same server with you guys.
It's still in the works. I'm coordinating with Fang and like a lot of other content creators
I think
too.
the plan is to try to coordinate with as many people as possible and put it out to communities and try to get as many people on the same server as possible when it comes out.
Like I'm West Coast and I played East Coast and didn't have any problems like ping wise or anything. So yeah.
I don't know how it would be for somebody like Day who's in like EU. I didn't try to play on an EU server, but I did play on East Coast being on West Coast and had no problems.
Yeah, that might get a little.
If it's anything like, I mean, if I go onto NA servers on ESO, I have like 150 ping, which is just not bad at all. So yeah, I would imagine it's similar.
Probably better.
I don't want to miss out on the EU
better.
homies, you know. Honestly, the East Coast for like the EU probably would be best for like EU people if they're going to play on East Coast or like any NA server.
Oh yeah, I guess West Coast. Yeah, I didn't think about that because obviously NA servers are.
West Coast would be way farther. Just be
yeah, that would be.
I think
terrible.
we're going to do an East Coast overall. I have a good feeling we're probably going to be doing East Coast.
I feel like we should do that because that's where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just what's your IP address so we can all just link to your computer.
I'll just link it right in the chat real quick.
We should have
put
a
it
LAN
in
party.
Octavian's chat, dude. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, that's what I should do.
Social security card number 2. That helps.
Since I know we can keep talking and then we can go to Q&A, but Tony is on kind of a time crunch. I want to like toss a question to Tony, just kind of some like final thoughts or impressions, how you feel about the game. Is this something you are going to definitely jump into when it comes out? Like, how are you feeling about the game compared to like other games you play?
No, I mean, the whole reason I even wanted to do this podcast with you is because I'm very excited about it. And I think it's got an incredible amount of potential. Just the fact that was a beta and it felt so addicting and so satisfying. My only regret is that I didn't get to play it more because I was having such a fun time with it. Like, I'm so interested in seeing being a part of the big 50-50 battles. I watched a lot of people do it. It looked awesome, even though like there were some like lagging issues. It still looked like an absolute blast. And like watching those siege engines and those giant cannons, I got really excited about it. So I think it's got a lot of potential, and I hope that it just fulfills all my wildest dreams. I really do. I'm very excited about it. So that's where I am.
It's so hard to say. Like I am definitely thinking more towards I'm gonna actually get the game. Which when I first played, I have to say I wasn't really sure if I was. Obviously I had the opportunity to even play because of the code that you gave me, but if I hadn't, then I probably wouldn't have even tried it. So I'm really grateful that I got to give it a go. And I do think I'm really excited to see even the changes they're going to be making before launch, and excited to try it out more on launch itself. I really hope they add a mini-map. I really hope they add like a little bit more just from the questing perspective, but other than that, no, I did really enjoy myself, and I think I didn't even kind of notice the hours going by, which is always a good feeling. So I could definitely see myself, sinking a lot more on launch.
And then I'll toss that over to you, Sakar. I already know this has kind of been the game that you were feeling like it's going to kind of take over as one of your main games, right?
Yeah, definitely. As far as I was concerned, going into New World, I just wanted it to work. I didn't care like if it could have been like a very mediocre game, and I'd have been like, you know what, I'm gonna play it because when I press abilities, they work. So that's all I care about is just to have a functioning game. So I went in there with the lowest of bars, and I was blown away with everything.
It's sad how we got to this point.
I've been in an abusive relationship with a video game for the past 7 years. So
which video game?
So yeah, it's just I didn't have very high expectations, but I was still blown away, and it's something that I'm incredibly excited for. I genuinely can't wait for the game to come out, and
yeah, let us pray that Daddy Bezos takes care of us. Like, can we get that Bo Burnham, Jeffrey Bezos?
As long as
Jeffrey Bezos, can we get that going?
As long as enough of us play New World, and buy that game and money flows in, and Papa Bezos can launch another giant dick rocket into space, I'm sure he'll give us what we want.
Let us pray.
Damn, I wasn't religious until I heard that, bro.
What about you, Payne?
No,
how do you feel about the game?
Go ahead, Tony, first. Go ahead.
I mean, to your point, though, it is sad. Like, Sakar being like, I've been in an abusive relationship for 7 years. It's because it's not your fault, Sakar. It's not your fault. The idea of like what Cyrodiil and Imperial City promise is amazing. The promise of what they want to deliver
and what it was
incredible.
too.
And so we want that. Like, I would love that situation to work perfectly. And it's just like it's so close. It's almost there, and then it never delivers. And so if New World delivered, I mean, it's all we'd be doing.
I think the big testament for New World, there's two big things for testaments. I think one, PvP works really well right now. There's a lot of fun stuff to do in PvE as the game goes on, especially in the first like 6 to 9 months. Can the PvP chads get along with us PvE gatherers? Because I think it can. I think that's the promise of the game, and that's what honestly they're going to have to work on. And that's what I was going to bring to is my opinion of this. The second main testament of the game is how the community responds. Like, obviously, I think I'm the only one here who played open beta back a year ago in October, and I might have been the only one who had any alpha access to the game. So I've been able to kind of see how far it's come along the way. Honestly, this was in October, one of the first games. Before I even streamed ESO, I actually streamed the 2-day free weekend almost a year ago now. And the game's come a tremendous amount of away. As long as the dev team stays as involved as they have been from then till now, once the game is live, I think it has a really good shot. Because that's another testament to these games is, like I said, ESO had to listen to its community. It ended up not doing that with the promise of Cyrodiil, but it did in a lot of other ways. They got rid of the original veteran system. They brought in one Tamriel. Final Fantasy listened to it, and they literally had a cataclysmic story event and brought us Realm Reborn. I'm not saying that New World's going to have a cataclysmic event and have a complete overhaul, but it does need a development team and a community team that's going to listen if that sort of thing needs to happen. If over the first year it starts to morph and listen to the community in good ways, I think it will be a really good sign. I think having this conversation in a year will be kind of paramount to where the game's really going to head, because it might not have a lot of lore now or a lot of this or that now, but if they can add that over that first year, that really kind of critical first year, I think it could really be something. I think it has good bones, as they say.
Good bones. Yeah.
They drink milk.
Oh, the one huge complaint I have is, what is this swimming system?
Oh, don't make me fuck. What the hell is that shit, dude? Fuck that. Honestly, I've never fucking drowned in any game in my life, bro. Like, that was like, I walk in the water, I'm like, why am I not swimming? And the next
guys, why are you trying to go in the water? You're wearing heavy armor. You clearly can't swim. This is on you. Swim. This is on both.
No. But you don't. Nobody walks at the bottom of the fucking shoreline, Tony. Like,
that Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, nobody does that. Like, it's like reverse Jesus or some shit. Like, I don't understand it, bro.
And is the Antichrist? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, everyone in New World, you're now the Antichrist if you play the game. But yeah, I hate that. I think we should be. If you're in light armor, you can still fucking swim. Like, at the very least, come on, man. Like, what the fuck?
Swimming
it just looks stupid too. It pisses me off.
Give Tony a final moment before he has to leave.
No more final thoughts. Just thanks for having me. This is I enjoyed getting a chat about it and meeting Day and I guess Sakar. And next time I come back, I don't want Payne around. So
hi, Tony.
Just give me that as a promise, and I'll be back.
I second that.
I made a before you leave, Tony. I made a joke on stream the other day. I'm like, man, a lot of people have a Twitch nemesis. I feel like having a fun Twitch nemesis would really add to my content. I mean, like, Izzy Winks has Tony, and Payne has Tony, and Sakar
Everybody.
has Tony, and I was like, oh, I guess Tony's just kind of like the Twitch nemesis. So
Yeah.
it was
That's
funny. I was like,
accurate.
look at all these different Twitch people with Twitch nemesis. I'm like, oh wait, no, it's just
It's just old Tony.
Yeah.
I promise a friendly hostility at all times. I was born with a face that you just want to punch, and I'm very aware of that. So I try to utilize that quality as best I can. But honestly, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining us,
coming,
Tony.
Tony.
Hopefully we can do more these group kind of podcasts sometime in the future. And when the game launches, let's have T&L logging services and just go chop some trees.
Yeah. Lumberjack. Damn it, there's no L's in the week, right? We'll just do fucking Wednesdays. Who cares?
There's a couple of things I'd like to talk about with New World. Again, one of those things is, Sakar talks about the abusive relationship for the last 7 years, and I was talking about how games kind of really change and develop over 7 years. And there's no way to really predict where the game's going to end up, but just with your experiences with it, assuming they keep listening to the community the way they are, they keep adding things like other long-lasting MMOs do. Is there things each of you would like to see the game eventually develop or have more of, or just things that you'd like to see added? Just randomly, if you were suddenly on the dev team or they were listening to you, what's something you would really like to see in the game? Just kind of, we're just going to hypothetical here.
Okay, go ahead, Damon. You're first.
I don't know. I was thinking of like when I wanted to bring this up, to be honest, and I guess now is a good time as any. But for me, like I typically, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a PvE nerd, but I really like kind of the whole building of your character that, for example, ESO offers in regards to like outfitting and titles and mounts and like even your class identity, which I know is not really so much a thing in New World, and that's what kind of makes it what it is. But I think it would be so cool to just be able to like charge into battle on a horse. That'd be pretty cool. That kind of stuff. I don't know if others agree with me on this, but I would actually really like to see the character customization and outfitting and stuff improved. That's something that I like. That's one of the biggest appeals of an MMO for me, or even an RPG in general. Like, I want to be able to make my character what I want it to be, and I feel like that was something that I didn't really particularly enjoy about the game. So I would really love to see that. But I also don't know if it has a place in New World, because New World it's definitely not your typical MMO. And I know that wasn't really their aim, but Payne also mentioned that those kind of things are the most profitable as well for them, for the most part, like cosmetics and things like that. And I don't know necessarily whether it would be a good thing that they added that, or if it would end up kind of like dividing the community a little bit. I'm not really sure, but that is something that I would definitely be interested in seeing myself.
I like the idea of more customization in the beginning, because like it was so bland when I was making my guy. Like, I feel like everybody kind of looks the same, like even their little avatars and stuff.
They all look like NPCs.
Yeah, there's not much you can do. Like, I was like, that's it. I was like, okay, it's whatever for me, because if you see my ESO characters, they all look like shit, but I do that on purpose. Honestly.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I have the armor on. I have the armor on, but if you ever take off the armor, like, my God, I
do
made
you just
those
randomize?
Yeah, I made them look as ugly as possible most of the time.
Yeah, but
made
see,
him
you
look
can
like
do
you.
that though. You can do that. Though in the
Sakura, you shit, dude. Anyway.
One does not simply take fashion out of an MMO, in my opinion, and I don't think they will. I would also really like to see that, whether it's making yourself look ugly or not. Character creation, definitely, coming from ESO like we all do. We had our butt sliders. We could make our extra thick orcs if we wanted to. We had full control over like the proportions of the body. Obviously New World has kind of that more basic character creation. There seems to be the promise of a lot more fashionable items, a lot more craftable fashionable items. It did take ESO a lot of years to get as many outfit styles, as many motifs. In Final Fantasy, which has a system called Glamour, it's the same thing where any armor pieces you find, you can glamour and make your character look however you want. Same with WoW with the transmog system. I feel like that fashion is going to be there, but that's also something I would like to see develop, because I do want to make my characters look exceptional, especially if I'm going to be a crafter. I want to be able to just set up shop and be like, I will make you look fabulous right now.
Yeah. That was definitely like a disappointment for me. Like I mean, I think Payne said it right, and just the fact that people do kind of look mostly the same. I mean, you can kind of change the hairstyles, but more or less they all look the same. They all look a little bit just non-unique, but for me personally, like the biggest thing in an MMO is being able to kind of set yourself apart, and what you kind of have yourself in this online world. And I think that's one of the things that New World just didn't do for me, is making, like, I didn't feel connected to my character, and that's something that's actually quite important for me when I'm playing an MMO, I guess.
I felt very cookie cutter as my character, and between that and just, I felt like the armor there's like 5 to 7 or 8 different styles, and that's about it. And like, I get it, it's the beginning of the game, and also with the colors and the factions, you can easily set to tell somebody apart with that. And I understand that that's what New World's going for with the colors and everything, but still, I want my posterior dimensions to be maxed. So
Agreed, yeah.
that's exactly what I need New World to give me right.
Yeah.
We need a mini map.
We need a mini map.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like one of the most popular things that they've been requested. Like, if you've been on their Twitter,
it's
like one of the mini map suggestions got like tons of fucking upvotes and stuff and shit.
I'm on.
It might happen.
Housing is an art form in ESO, and I don't mean that lightly. I mean, out of any MMO I've ever played, you can have just wild levels of customization with your houses. And while New World doesn't obviously have that, it has more like a Final Fantasy style. I did really like something that New World did with housing, and I hope it develops further, which is when you decorate your houses, there's like a score points you get, and whichever person owns that house, because it's like ESO, everybody can own the house and have an instance of it, but whoever has the most points, that's the one that everybody in the world sees when they're walking around settlements. And then when you look at the house, you can see the other top 10 people with highest points and go visit their houses. And then you can also see anybody that's like in your guild or you're friends with also, and always visit all your friends' houses easily from that menu. But I really thought it was cool that you actually could see the exterior and interior, and the house you saw in walking around the settlements was whoever put the most work, which means if you really want to get down to decorate, you can get housing competitive and try to be the person who decorates this house the best, so that your house is the one that everyone sees when they walk through town. And while you can't decorate on the level of ESO, the concept of maybe being the best at decorating a house so the world could see my house, basically a competitive leaderboard for decorating a house, was one of the coolest things I think I've seen in an MMO.
That's real unique. I've never heard of it. I didn't even know that was a thing, honestly.
I had no idea.
2 weeks. That's really cool.
I basically explored all of the weird, everybody was doing like all the PvP and quests, so I'm just going to gather, raise money, and figure out what housing's about.
Okay, dude. Like, I didn't do any housing. I didn't even buy a house in the game.
No, I didn't either. I like how convenient they are, though. Like, you're going through the towns anyway. The thing that I hate about housing in ESO is I just feel like I have to travel to like Narnia to go and get, I don't know, one piece of gear from a box if I left it there instead of my bank. And like, I just felt so out of the way if I needed something. The houses are in town anyway, and you need to go through all the towns anyway. So I felt like that was just a much more convenient factor of New World.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I do admit I haven't played every MMO, and so someone in chat just pointed out that Black Desert Online BDO, which is an MMO I admit I'm not familiar with at all, actually does the house pointing things, which is cool because this is like the third thing that someone's like, oh, this MMO does it, which does mean that the Amazon team studied all these different MMOs and was picking and choosing the yoink and twist, as I say with my own content creation, some of the best parts from these other systems to bring to their game. And I think it's smart to look at other games and see what you can bring into yours, but do it in your own way.
Yeah, I like how they literally take all the goods of all the other MMOs and they put it into their own game. That's how you make a really solid MMO. Like, you know what the bads are, you don't do that. You take the great things, you put it in. Nothing wrong with like copy pasting like other people's like content of other games, you know?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with plagiarism.
Yeah, nothing wrong. I mean, high school, bro. How do you think I passed English?
Passed?
I mean, sort of. I mean, C++ was good enough for me, dude. But shit. Just kidding. Don't cheat on your essays. Someone's gonna clip this. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Something I think is very, very cool about the MMO scene. Like, there's a lot of obviously stuff going on, overhauls in the gaming industry, stuff going on with Activision Blizzard, and I'm not going to get into all of that. But I do want to look at the positives of what's going on in the MMO space, which is Final Fantasy 14 is popping off. ESO, at least in regards to a lot of the PvE content, is releasing stuff, new things that people are really happy with. New World looks extremely promising. It's a couple years out, but the alpha already plays really, really nice for Ashes. And then there's other MMOs I haven't even checked out yet that are doing well. I know BDO has, I forgot what the new one is. I think it's Crimson Desert, another MMO come out. So there's a lot of MMOs with a lot of promise, a lot of teams behind these MMOs. And I think that's overall amazing for the MMO space, because at the end of the day, competition is good for the players. It breeds innovation, because if you have a bunch of other MMOs all doing well, you're going to be pushed more to like really try with your MMO. And two, it helps players. It lets people like Sakar, who felt like they're in an abusive relationship with ESO PvP, go into a game where they feel like they're respected for what they want to do. It lets people who really like the content of ESO still thrive there. It lets people checking out Final Fantasy do that, and giving people options whether they play multiple MMOs or stick with one, I think is only good for the players. And I'm glad to see MMOs thriving again, because it almost felt like when WoW was on top, we had a lot of good MMOs, but they kind of were overshadowed by like this one king MMO. And now it feels like there's a kind of a bigger playing field for new games coming out.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Competition, thumbs up, good. Makes people better.
I think that's one of the reasons why ESO has been lacking lately, is because of the fact that what competition has it had?
It's nothing
Honestly,
to really test anything, you know. There's no leaderboards for anything in game except for like solo arenas. There are only 2 of them. You know what I mean?
I don't know if people care about this, but do you like what faction are you guys going?
Covenant.
Covenant?
Yeah.
I'm Syndicate. It's purple. Come on.
It's a Zergling faction.
I went Marauders for beta, and I
This
found
is-
a group
So we're
that I'm gonna
3
be
for
playing.
3.
This is really weird, because it kind of depends on what server you're on. On Xanadu,
Yeah.
I was Syndicate, and we were very much not the Zerglings, but Marauders were the Zerglings on my server.
Well, the reason why Syndicate is generally more populated is because their faction gear actually does more damage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Little known fact, yeah.
I picked it for the same reason.
So-
Same reason Day did. I picked it because they were purple.
It's
That needs,
pretty.
that needs to be fixed too. I don't think they should have any like super big benefit like that. Like Covenant got reduced cooldowns on all their gear pieces or whatever. Syndicate had more damage, and like I forgot what Marauders had. Honestly, I think it was like damage resistance or something. I don't know, but that needs to change.
I picked Syndicate because Nern told me to, so that's actually the real reason.
Freaking Nerdstorm. I'm gonna
When we're
talk
figuring out servers or whatever, I plan to just do whatever faction people are. I'm not really married to any one faction. I went with Syndicate because they were purple on the map, and when I read the 3 different pieces of lore, I'm like, Syndicate sounds the coolest to me. That was literally the only note.
I like the description a lot for Syndicate.
Purple is actually my favorite color, but like I just joined up with the boys because like Covenant was getting like fucked down.
Is purple all 4 of our favorite colors?
Probably. I mean, shit, you know.
That's kind of cool. Anyway.
Syndicate, like just like the edgy people who just like to read, like ugh.
Oh yeah, imagine reading, dude. Fucking stupid. Only stupid people read.
That's why Payne's not in Syndicate.
Only stupid people read.
He's just copying down Syndicate like essays.
Syndicate.
Awesome. So yeah.
David's like, what do I do now? What do I say?
No, I was just saying, let's
I was
try
like, I just flamed him. I don't know. It was like this unknown territory. I'm usually nice.
Yeah.
No, definitely roast Pain as much as possible.
Yeah, I honestly, I can take it, dude. I got 4 years of my life just getting shit on, so like I'm used
Payne
to
will
it.
roast himself.
Yeah, I'll roast myself harder than any of you would ever roast me. So like, good luck. I think I'm good. It was a lot of fun to be here. Thank you for having me on, Mr. Octavian. And it was nice to do a podcast of Mr. Carr and Miss Damos. Sometimes Tony, he was all right.
So
I thought Tony was nice.
thank you all for being here. I know Tony had to leave a little bit earlier. Hopefully we can have other topics in the future and get together again, or get a different group of people together again. But I would love to have you all back on for some other topic in the future.
I'm gonna say, if you want to do like I'm up for it. I don't know if the other 2 or 3 are, but if you want to do like a post release of New World podcast, like, you know, a month in or so, I'm up for it.
I'm down too. Just let me know.
Always up for
good.
anything. But I think that'd be a great idea.
That actually, I was thinking of exactly the same thing. I feel like a follow-up of all the changes we were talking about would actually be really not just a pretty face. There you go, Sakar, everybody.
Yeah.
I stream PvP. I stream PvP if you guys want to see PvP action.
I also stream PvP, and I also started doing live music on my channel too. So I'm working on that a lot. Getting some more setups for it. I'm kind of drifting more towards that too. We'll be doing obviously a lot of New World when it comes out. Still going to be playing a lot of ESO. I'll be playing both New World and ESO primarily on the channel. And my more relaxed days, I'll be working on maxing my old school RuneScape account. So that's a lot to come there. Hope you guys see you guys all there.
I stream mostly PvE with a focus on community. We have a lot of community events and things like that, a lot of competitions amongst subscribers. And I've also branched a little bit into variety, not just within MMOs, but also playing Visage at the moment, a horror game on stream. So yeah, trying to branch a little bit out of the comfort zone that is Elder Scrolls Online. Although most of my content is still Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh yeah, don't forget about your singing.
Yeah, I never
One of the most beautiful voices on Twitch, honestly.
I feel bad. I was like, just PvP.
Yeah.
I got PvP.
We're just PvP.
I PvP. I PvP badly, so you should follow them if you want to watch good PvP.
So yeah, thank you everybody. Again, it was really wonderful to have you all on, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you everybody. Hope you enjoyed that podcast. Sounds like we're going to get back together in the future. We are going to be doing Kraken Cast like this. We're going to be doing the one-on-one still. Next week on Tuesday, we'll actually be talking with Melzy. It'll be Tuesday every day going forward this month, live on stream, and then they'll go up on YouTube the day after. Tuesday the 10th, we will be talking with Melzy. On the 17th, we will be speaking with Alico. On the 24th, we'll be meeting with Tierney. And on the 31st, we'll be meeting with the Fox Den. So a lot of good interviews. And then next month, I'm putting things together, and we're going to kind of mix in these group podcasts with one-on-one podcasts and kind of keep that as our format for this new Kraken Cast.